I put it up for you guys to choose which one would be better to analyze, Sari or Good Boy. And you ended up picking Good Boy. Anyway, I went to watch it to see if it was actually worth it, so let's get started. One thing I found interesting was its name, Good Boy, which would be Golden Boy, and that's going to make a lot of sense with this work. Good Boy has Kitaro as its protagonist, this guy who's actually 27 or 24, I'm not sure if I got that right, and he's a lawyer. Well, he went to law school, but he wanted to travel the world to do other things, as his catchphrase goes. Always living and learning.
勉強になるな.
But he has an accident while riding his bike with earphones on, where this shows up and asks if he got hurt. He says no, but even so, she gives him 1,000,000 yen to fix his bike, though he didn't want to accept it. So he touched her, and she kind of slapped him and wiped off her shoulder. Then you got close to him, saying, "Walk on the sidewalks." But it seems like there wasn't even a sidewalk in that area. After that, he goes to a workshop where there's an old man fixing his bike, until some loan shark shows up demanding money. And he looks over there, then out of nowhere, he walks over with a really serious face, like he's going to defend the old man, but he turns the corner and leaves. He didn't, right? And all he did was jot down the guy's reactions, which was a big deal. After that, he heads to the company where he's going to work. The woman who owns this company is the same one who almost ran him over, and for some reason, Kitaro starts imagining things like her using that toilet. So he starts drinking toilet water, licking the toilet, which I found super gross, but anyway. And that sees it and gives him this disgusted look. So he makes a bunch of faces and reactions to not get hired, saying, "Oh no, I'll work, I like computers, I love computers," all to avoid being hired. Then she says, "All right, let's test you." And when he uses the computer, he literally can't do it because he doesn't know how, at least not at that moment. Then he has this reaction like he's chasing the girls, and the girls start beating him up. And he says he'll manage to learn how to use the computer if she lets him work there. So he convinces her, and she kind of lets him work doing what he was already doing before, cleaning bathrooms and the place. And with that, he starts noticing the girls' daily routines, what they do, what's on the computer even while he's working, until he goes to the girls' locker room just to clean, because as a janitor, that's his job. But the girls come in to change, and he hides behind a locker, which he shouldn't do since it's his job to clean the place. He probably just has to wait and say, "Hey, I'm cleaning here," and then leave. But okay, he stays there watching the girls change, and he leaves late at night. And when he leaves, he sees the computer on, thinks it's wasting energy, so he turns it off, which he shouldn't have done because sometimes there's important stuff. And that's exactly what happens. That shows up, sees the computer was turned off, and she lost all her app files she was going to sell to another country, which took who knows how long. So she starts hitting him, saying she'll rip up his little notebook, and they get these demon faces. Right then, they're literally fighting. And so Kitaro gets fired, and the girls start working twice as hard as before, until one of them notices a file is still there. But the boss thinks Kitaro made some backup, or whatever it's called here. I'll call it a private album, let's say, or discreet, like it was called back then, and made her work double for a prank, a troll. And she wants to beat up Kitaro, but one girl notices something. The file is completely different from hers, it's superior, 1,000,000 times better than hers. And she checks it out and says it's true. It's way easier to use, more organized and all that. And not only that, it's like a little program he made with him there apologizing, saying sorry. And it shows that Kitaro actually learned and knows how to program now. But she runs after him to thank him or see if it was really him who did it. When she gets there, the old man shows up with his wife. Right then, he was heading there to thank Kitaro for the money he got to pay off the loan shark. And she seems to start falling for Kitaro. So she runs, grabs her car, and speeds off after Kitaro like crazy. Continuing the episode, Kitaro is at the mayor's house where he's doing work for the mayor. And this mayor is tough, until the mayor's wife tells the maid she has to work even though her son's sick with a fever, and she doesn't care. But Kitaro wants to take the maid's place because he's a kind guy. Plus, he'll do his usual work, but one of the mayor's goons says he has a daughter, and whoever hits on her ends up, let's say, swimming with a brick on their foot. And for some reason, Kitaro has a toilet fetish because the guy can't see a toilet without going nuts, until the mayor's daughter catches him in the act. She says his face is dirty, he tries to wipe it off, and she invites him to her room. And there, she gets undressed, half naked. Kitaro gets super nervous but runs away from her because he's freaked out. And when she's walking with her friend, she runs into Kitaro putting up the mayor's pictures on poles and stuff for the campaign, and she goes to talk to him. Plus, she fakes a faint so he'll grab her chest and her butt, and she's not wearing panties, and it's wild. Kitaro gets nervous and she gives him a love letter telling him to come to her room. And that's what he does. He goes to her room and she says she wants to study with him for him to teach her. And that's what he does, he teaches her. And the whole time, she's always hitting on him, but he doesn't do anything big, not until she notices he has a diary and wants to grab it. So she fakes another faint and takes the diary. And when she reads it, she realizes Kitaro actually knew everything. That she was just pretending, that she acted shy but isn't really like that she wants her dad's attention, wants to provoke him. And she gets super mad because Kitaro read her, figured out her disguise. So the next day, she grabs scissors, rips up her clothes completely, and gives them to Kitaro. Then she just catches her breath and starts screaming for help. And so her dad shows up and says, "What are you doing to my daughter?" And he grabs her, kisses her, says he's in love with her, and calls him father-in-law. But he ends up getting beaten by her dad's goons. And while she's thinking, "He likes me, he's in love with me," she ends up rescuing him and saving him even though his face is all beat up. But even so, he leaves the place. After that, while she's waiting out front, he returns the diary and says she wants to lose her virginity to him. And it's funny because the goon asks the mayor, "You're gonna let him go?" He says yes, because he's a guy who tells the truth and prefers a guy like him. Now in the third episode, it's a bit more dramatic. Kitaro's working at a restaurant now, run by a really humble family. And it's cool. At this point, everything's fine, because the couple's daughter is dating a guy, and this guy's a jerk, so much so that Kitaro notices and follows him. And this guy brings his girlfriend along with another girl, and he just wants the restaurant to sell it later. I think he's probably a real estate agent. Yeah, Kitaro knocks on the door, saying not to dump the girl, that he should be faithful to her and all that. But the guy just beats him up. The next day he goes to work and doesn't say anything to the girl, just keeps trying to convince him, so much so that she goes out with him to a horse race. And he was about to kiss her, but he was following Kitaro, and Kitaro gets in the way and ends up getting a tongue kiss from the girl. But anyway, he manages to disguise himself and get out of there before the guy realizes he kissed another dude. And Kitaro blocks the jerk's move too. But anyway, Kitaro sees him again at the end with his mistress and tries to convince him not to cheat on the other girl. But this other girl followed him too and saw she was being cheated on. And not only that, because he just wanted the place. And she runs off crying. Kitaro was going after her, but the guy was about to grab Kitaro and beat him up. This is where Kitaro shows he was never weak. Yeah, he let the guys hit him, and he breaks the guy's fingers with just one punch to the face. And the next day he talks to the girl, and they even get along, laughing. And he says he's leaving because he already learned what he needed to there. And the girl even starts laughing and gets a little happy, because staying with a jerk like that wouldn't be good, no way. Continuing the episode, Kitaro runs into a woman he finds wild and ends up following her. And when he finds out she owns a place that teaches people to swim, of course, he asks to be an instructor. So the woman tests him, saying, "Hey, swim there for me to see if you're good." But Kitaro doesn't know how to swim, he almost drowns, so he fails. Then he pushes to at least be hired for cleaning, but she says the spot's already full and they don't need a cleaner. So he makes a bet with her. In 1 month, he'll get so good he'll beat her. If he wins, she has to hire him as an instructor. and if she wins, he'll work for her for free. And she agrees because of her pride and ego. And during that time he's there training in the pool, he also teaches some kids, and a lot of them start liking him, thinking he's cool, a nice teacher. But the instructor, the one in charge, says it's not good because she wants to train great swimmers, not people just playing in the pool. Though he keeps saying he agrees, he says that this way the kids will get traumatized and scared of the pool and doesn't agree that you have to force kids to swim. But anyway, Kotaro goes straight to where the instructor teaches and sees she's super strict. So he thinks it's some kind of masochist thing, her free lesson. And she even agrees and gives him a lesson. And she notices he's improved a lot since he trained hard after classes. And when her lesson ends, he stays in the pool a bit. Right then, she starts finding it interesting and jumps in, swimming. Kotaro swims after her, but he sees something of hers and swims full speed to grab her precious spot, giving her a hickey that almost makes him lose his breath. And in the end, she gets out of the pool, saying he's really good and even embarrassed, and says he won't beat her. When she turns around and he gets out, he's got a boner, and she gets super pissed, hits him and kicks him out. And the next day, the other instructors say Kotaro improved the teaching for the kids, where the kids play in the pool and learn. They use toys so the kids can swim and all that with less fear and start learning to swim. And she's super surprised because she didn't expect him to come up with something so they could swim without fear. Not only did he listen well, but a kid there, it seems her mom said, "Where? Kotaro, he's a great teacher." And so she sees she lost the bet and says she wants to hire him, but she didn't know where he was since he got fired. She calls him you, showing a lot of respect. In this episode, he runs into a girl on a motorcycle. He tries to keep up with her and does, but when he sees her, she's drinking and posing sexy. And he literally stops on top, studying with the bike, then takes off riding, and Kotaro goes after her but can't keep up. So he goes to his job, which is a temple. Not him having to take care of stuff, but everything with manners and posture, lots of manners too. And there, by coincidence, he finds out the girl he kept seeing on the motorcycle was there. Yeah, she's the daughter of the owner of that place too. Of course, Kotaro gets horny and wants to hook up with her, so much so that it gets to that bathroom moment. He gets caught remembering the bathroom. This guy got a bathroom kink, and the girl catches him in the act. After a moment, he ends up getting fired from the place, probably because of the bathroom, but he stays nearby with a little fire because he wants to learn more. But he sees the lady leaving at night and follows her, finding out she goes into an abandoned place. And he goes in too, but he also finds out she owns that motorcycle and she was half naked, masturbating with the bike. And he gets turned on and she asks, "Do you want me?" He says yes. "To want me, you'll have to beat me on the bike because the bike's my only passion." And of course, Kotaro accepts the bet. No, he's on a bicycle and she's on the motorcycle. At first, Kotaro gets kind of friendly with her, but it's because she's just messing with him, so much so that she takes off, and Kotaro falls way behind. Until he uses a piece of rope to get a boost from a car, but an animal shows up and he swerves and the car brakes and he gets a big boost forward. But he uses the rope to grab a power pole and he ends up riding the bike on top of a power line. I don't know how he didn't get electrocuted, but he manages to keep up with her because he's got so much momentum. Even so, she comes, gets surprised, and says he still won't win. And he swings off the power line, getting even more speed passing her. And on top of that, he does a bunch of tricks and she's super impressed until they get to a spot that says there's no road. And Kotaro goes straight through. He passes it. The girl who wanted to pass too can't because she gets scared and Kotaro falls. And you think, is Kotaro that screwed for a? No, because his brakes were busted. So when he falls, he lands straight in the forest onto the road and the girl's super shocked, thinks he's amazing, says he won. So much so that she runs after Kotaro, saying she wants him to take her virginity. Kotaro's a player, but he can't stop because he's got no brakes. So he keeps going, saying, learn, 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 and learn. And the last episode, I think it's some kind of finale, because it starts with an anime production where they're making an anime. Then the author of the anime itself shows up, from Good Boy, but here it's called Good Girl. But relax, it's the same creator. And Kitaro asks for an autograph from this guy, and if you say his manager's rushing the anime on a tight schedule, everyone starts working, trying to get this anime done. Because it's tough, some people can't even sleep, slaving away for the studio, and Kitaro gets picked. He ends up calling all the girls he's met from the first episode to now. Each one helps with something, dubbing, sometimes drawing, sometimes computers like the first one, and so on. And in the end, the anime gets finished right on time, the deadline's met. They go watch it to see if it's good, and when they see it, it's an anime about a monster with some fighting here and there. Kitaro thinks it's turning out bad because no one's getting excited. So he leaves sad, thinking no one likes his creation. When the movie ends, everyone loved it, claps and all that, but when they turn around, Kitaro's already gone, and the girls run after him because he took off. And finally, the girl who works at the studio starts liking Kitaro too. Anyway, Kitaro's the biggest player in the world, and that's my analysis for today. If you liked it, give it a like, suggestions and all that, and comment below. And by the way, I recommend you watch this anime. See you next time.